Welcome back, Mighty Mighty Souls. My name is Stephen Koss. This is Initiation, Journey to the Origin of the Universe, with Mates de Stefano, Episode 6, The Architects of Reality. And he starts out the episode by asking this question: why is there light and dark? Why is there contrast? And through the episode, we'll explain how positive and negative are actually good things. They're actually two sides of the same coin. But we have to look back and understand the misconception, from episode 2 in duality of light and dark. So let's start there. So we were taught that we think we need to go to heaven. We need to get to the light in order to find a way to be one with our Creator. And that's the misconception that I've had, that I think most of us, because we're always looking external, or if we do X, Y, and Z, we'll get to this external point where we will be free and we will transcend and be enlightened and all these things. But this just comes from the duality. If we go back over from episode 2, we think, we're on episode 6 right now in the 6th dimension. If we go from 1, we start from unity and it exploded into duality, and we had that positive and that negative. Then we came up here to form the 3rd dimension of matter so we could experience it. And then we needed time to hold these all together. Then we needed the 5th dimension up here so we could understand the process. And now we're going down here to the 6th dimension. So this is new material for me, and it's going to be pretty difficult because there's some questions I'm going to ask, and if I ask them, if you want to comment back on them, please help me understand better as well. We're all in this together. But looking over that again, right? We have this unity that blows up from the 1st dimension, creating duality of a positive and a negative, or purpose and mission. We go up to the 3rd to have the experience. The 4th is holding together the whole process through time. The 5th is so we can understand that process. And the 6th is so we can transcend our knowledge of that reality. So in the 6th dimension, and here's where I'm going to have a question. He says, matter normally cannot be changed in the 3D except by time and space. And one thing I think about right there is a good example is erosion, right? You see what water does and erodes banks and moves things on. Now in my head I was thinking, well, shoot, MBS, I can change matter. What do you mean? I think what he was trying to say is you can't change it from the beings in the 6th dimension because they're not obligated to time and space. They use time and space actually as tools to create. They're almost, we were calling them the architects up here on the start of the video, but it's really alchemy. How do I spell that? Alchemist. Right? Turning iron ore into gold. So this is really about understanding the 6th dimension and understanding that this base right here, as we talked about in the beginning, this is kind of the base. We have duality, we have the 3rd dimension we can experience, but we have time holding it all together. But then we've created with the 5th dimension of being able to look down and understand the process to the 6th dimension of transcending what we understand as reality. That square, that basement, almost turns into the spiral where beings are created. what do they call that? An octahedron. And I think I'm going to get a little further into that. Am I not? Let me check this out right quick. So when you have this octahedron, I know I just spiraled that out, and my drawings aren't amazing. But you have this top half spinning clockwise, and the bottom half spinning counterclockwise. That's why you're able to have the sacred spiral here and start to create the being. Interesting that that'll come into the Merkaba as we go further. But let's go back to the light and dark and understand that a little bit better. So in the sixth dimension, actually the dark are the architects. There's the ones who take the light and they split it into fractal patterns and form shapes. And they do that so the light can have a reflection. And they cause that reflection through a distortion of the light. Now the sixth dimension is split. Like I said, the dark ones are the architects, and the light beings are showing you your purpose. So they're working hand in hand together. So it's like you ask yourself, when we grow up in this 3D reality, why is there, war and famine and pandemics and all these bad things? We don't see them working together, complementary to each other. Like, in order to see your light, there needs to be darkness. Or you would never be able to see yourself. Everything would just be everything the same. So the darkness puts together the matter, the shapes, the fractal patterns, and the light sets up the purpose. Right, these guys over here create the purpose. These guys create the matter or the path. To get to that, first they'll cause a distortion. So then you can find yourself. Or else it would be much too easy. We would already understand everything and see all this stuff immediately. And that kind of goes back to the main purpose of all of this, right? In a 3D, we're taught, programmed that we need to do good here on the earth plane in order to ascend to the light, to heaven, or descend to the darkness, to hell. We're looking at it as a duality thing. And the goal is not to find the light. The goal is to understand the process. And that's a misconception we have on the earth plane. Always going good and evil, and if I do X, Y, and Z, I'm going to go to heaven, or I'm going to have a good life. and I want to become enlightened, but enlightened is really another way of feeling. It's not the main goal. It's just another way to see reality. The main goal is to understand the process of what? What was the main goal of video number 1 of who I am can become. And light and dark are just tools that we use the 6th dimension to understand that process. Okay, this is a good topic right here. He's like, to go with light and dark, right? It's like, when do you find yourself? Do you find yourself when things are all good? When you got that raise? When you found that new mate? When you got a new house? Or did you find it in the dark when you had an illness, confrontation, war, famine, pandemic, whatever it may be? It's funny that the crises actually are the experiences we need. We need crisis in order to grow, learn, and then understand. But we want to associate this with the negative all the time. Tell me about your problems. But not seeing those problems as situations for us to move further up to understand the process so we can transcend. Again, like the light's used to understand. But it's not the goal. And the darkness is a tool we use to form the path. To find ourselves. It's interesting that we're always taught, again, like the light, the dark, that dark's bad. Like we were talking about duality, people want to attack you at night. You can't see so well. I mean, what does the darkness bring you? So we automatically thought it was terrible, and the reason we thought light was so good, I mean, and this isn't spiritual, this is biological. I mean, the light, the sun controls all our weather patterns. If it wasn't for that, there would be nothing here, right? And we look to it, and you think the first cells on this planet were in the ocean, and they're getting food from the sunlight, creating and growing. So we always look to the light as being good. We look to darkness, oh, people are going to attack us. The food, we're not getting food. Things are terrible down there. So we really got to break this biological hold that it has on us, because we look up to the light and we associate that with God, source, Big Bang, and we know of angels, and they'll talk softly to us, whisper, go in this direction, do this and that, but they don't force things on you. They're just trying to experience, and they're not trying to persuade. But the darkness is what's leading that into, kind of skipping ahead here, but like, let's say an angel is trying to tell you, Stephen, you are on the wrong path. Boy, what you're doing right now, I'm trying to tell you, well, if you just get off this, if you do X, Y, you'll be a little better, you'll understand more. But you're so tunnel vision into 3D that you're like, no, I gotta get this new job. I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna go on vacation. That you can't get it. So then an angel has to talk to a demon. This is in the 6th. And ask them, to create a different matter or reality, so you get a wall. Because they are the architects. The dark ones are the architects. I just mean, I don't want to say demons per se, but just dark ones. This is us in the 3D trying to understanding between angels and demons, you know, in a earth body as a human being. So this thing, like always following the light externally, like we're looking, if we do X, Y, and Z, we'll go to heaven. Associate the light with the good, the dark with the bad. And we're not understanding that they're just one and the same together. This is just our biological, it's not the spiritual, where we really want to use our hierarchy to live our life from. You know, you want to use all the different, like the spider web, if we're looking at that Merkaba now, or octatetrahedron, and you're all those 6 dimensions together combined, but you're in the 3D currently, and you're living that hard, but you got to dip into the other things as the web and the spider, like go through the different dimensions. And one thing about the dimensions that you got to think too, you got to get that 3D thinking of thinking they're linear. You know, I'm telling you, we're on episode 6, we're going in chronological order. You know, right down the timeline, number 1 to number 6. But when we were doing that pattern earlier, we said unity came and split into duality, which split into the 3, which split into 4, which then we had 5, so we could understand the process, 6 to transcend. That this is just kind of like if you had one of those toys, expands and contracts real big, instead of looking at it linear, you know, going down the road. If I put on my Google Maps, I got to go down there, make a right, then a left, get on the highway, get off at exit 32. We got to see it as the same thing and live in the middle, right? Here's the darkness, here's the light. We want to be in that gray, that middle. And that's funny, you know, we always thought about that. It's a common expression. Oh, you think everything's black and white. Is there some gray area here? And you're telling me that's where we're supposed to live, in the gray area? That's an interesting concept. And it's going to take a lot of spiritual practice or just daily practice to have that be top mind awareness. Because we'll be conservative, and you're having 50,000 thoughts a day, and you want to live down here in the gray, and you watched a video, or I did a video, but then you have a situation in life pop up, and immediately you go back to your subliminal routine. You know, your program, you're like, so-and-so did what? That's terrible, unacceptable, unforgivable almost. And you gotta think, well, wait, let's look at it as purpose and mission. Let's look at darkness being equal to light, and that they just are pushing at a different pattern at me because I'm too far off purpose. Now, will that happen when you're battling this in your subliminal routine, unless you're having this on a daily practice until it starts to click and starts to take hold, and you've uploaded the software and it's staying, and you're going to need to update it from time to time. But it's just an interesting thing to think about. Yeah, we'll get to that, honoring the tools. But the Merkaba, spinning in opposite directions, creating the being in a time vehicle for the soul to split light. But in all reality, the Merkaba was built by the darkness. They are the architects. Now, isn't that, man? You mean I gotta give props to the darkness? All my life I've been told that the darkness is bad. It's scary. You're afraid of the dark. They never said you're afraid of the light. Ever. Why have I been so scared of the dark when it's just the same as light? You know, I've been programmed, and now I'm battling, like I said, but this vehicle was built by the darkness. The darkness is putting together the patterns for the light to be distorted, so I can look through a reflection of different mirrors to find myself. So crisis, sickness, confrontation, war, famine, pandemic are all just patterns of the darkness showing the light who it can become and release its true potential. So we're at episode 6 here. We're talking about the architects, and like we just discussed, the dark ones are the ones that actually make the patterns up. But how do we translate this into 3D living as Stephen Koss, right? On the earth plane. In order for us, MDS says, and the only way for us to transcend is to honor both the light and dark. And forget about good and evil, right? Nobody is born good or born evil. These things were good and evil created by mankind for religion and politics and society for survival mode purposes. But if we think back to the tree, we also got to look to all the roots as well. We got to look at the tree as the branches, as the light, and the roots as the darkness. Right? They're setting the pattern up. The light's reflecting in it and growing and experiencing to find out the main purpose, who I can become. So I guess the last points I just make is there's not a difference between light and dark. Not at all. It's two sides of one coin. And we got to understand that and accept it instead of giving it judgmental 3D definitions of saying that's not right, you're bad, I'm good, you're evil. And we got to understand that they're just tools. That's all they are. So we can understand our purpose. The universe isn't asking itself, golly, oh gee, I'd love to be enlightened today, Stephen. You know what I need? Enlightenment. Boy, I need to get enlightened. It all comes from unity. The universe doesn't want to understand enlightenment. Got that. It wants to understand what can I become? Process is the main goal. And the dark ones help us make these patterns. They distort the light so we can forget a little bit and then find these reflections, go through the process because they made the purpose up. These guys made the pattern. And then we can find out who we can become. I hope that makes sense to you. I was thinking I've been writing a new book about conquering depression. I'm gonna like skip right to the end of like how do you conquer depression in a 3D? And I'm finding that the common denominator is just like you win the thought battle. Like how many thoughts are you having a day where like saying conservatively 50K, which then cause you emotions. So if you're winning that battle, and not looking at light and dark as good and evil, or positive and negative, but just looking at them as tools. To understand the process. That's all. I hope that resonates with you. It was a little bit harder episode for me, to be honest. If you could answer any questions or want to bring anybody up, let me know. Stephen Koss, smile big, shine bright. Peace.